I really can't express how much I love that begin. Everybody probably hates it, but I love it. It makes me laugh every time. This week, no, this isn't a weekly thing. This video is about mountain madness. Scott Fischer, Mount Everest, and a life lived on high. This is a biography of Scott Fischer and his many climbing expeditions, as well as him as a person. This is by Robert Birkby. Robert Birkby. And it was printed in 2008. Scott Fischer, for all intents and purposes, was a born climber. He was a guy who felt at one with the mountains after seeing an NOLS, which is the National, I'm going to botch this, National Outdoor Leadership? Doesn't sound right at all. Not about to go through this whole thing. I get very anxious and get anxiety about dead air. And that's what I feel like is happening right now as I'm looking through this. This is fun. This is what you guys tuned in for. Yeah, it's definitely what you guys wanted to see. Well, either way, there was a documentary about this NOLS. It was a program that was run by a climber at the time, an outdoorsman, who would bring kids in, not just kids, I guess, I mean up to teenagers and such, and would train them to survive in the wilderness, would train them to climb, would train them to just basically be adventurers, if you will, of the wilderness. The documentary actually was controversial. I think it came out like 1970. But if you look at it now, it'd be controversial, where there was no safety nets for these kids. They gave the kids a compass and told them to just survive and find them. And no strings. There was no like older people watching over them to see if they're doing everything right. But it was definitely leadership building. And Scott Fischer attended one of these, fell in love immediately, came back the next year, kept coming back, and then he eventually became like an instructor there. Fell in love with climbing, absolutely loved climbing. This goes through all that, goes through, meeting people. There was a thing that now that I think of mountain climbing, I just want to hear the word Bruce, because everybody who went to this NOLS and were instructors there, they would yell Bruce to each other. It became a kind of, making sure you knew who was around, and there was always somebody there who you knew. It came from an old skit by, I'm going to botch it. I want to say it was a Marx Brothers. That seems a little too farther back. No, Monty Python. I'm an idiot. It was a Monty Python sketch with a bunch of Bruces. And it started out as a joke, and then they eventually would just yell Bruce. So anytime anybody would climb a mountain, they'd scream Bruce off the top of it. So now anytime I think of mountain climbing, or after I read this book, I became very interested in it and started watching some documentaries about mountain climbing, climbing K2, climbing Everest, climbing other summits. I just want somebody without any type of context to just scream Bruce off the top and it not be explained, because I feel like I would be in on that joke and be very excited about it. This goes through him meeting his wife, eventually having children, but still being an adventurer, still climbing peaks, still wanting to be just a climber. He wants to climb the best peaks in the world, the 8,000 meter pluses. I think there's 14 of them in the world. It's his constant battle to beat Everest, and he founds his own company to go on these adventures to take people in the mountain climb. And this explains in very detailed way about how it's done, how they go up to Camp 1, you go back to base camp, you go up to Camp 1, take supplies at Camp 2, go back to base camp. I like the idea of it. I got really into mountain climbing from this. That doesn't mean I've climbed a mountain. I kind of wish I would. I have a really bad shoulder, and I know it would blow out and I'd die. But I want to now, just so I can yell Bruce. But it's his constant attack on Everest. He summits K2. He summits some of the larger ones. But Everest, it always escapes him. He tries 4 or 5 expeditions. He doesn't make it. I mean, spoiler alert, he does make it eventually. And very big spoiler alert, on his second attempt, he dies on Everest. He summits, but then dies. But I think you're supposed to know that going in because it says it in the inside cover, in like the preview or whatever, the preview, if you will, the exposition. It tells you that he died on Everest. But it goes through his whole life and his constant living as a mountaineer and balancing that with his family life and the different friends and the way he influenced people. He was also he was on the expedition that Krakauer was on when he wrote Into Thin Air. I think that was the book. But that expedition also inspired many other books by many other people. Krakauer's Into Thin Air, Anatoly Bukreev's The Climb, Lenny Gamelgard's Climbing High, and Beck Weathers' Left for Dead. That's the events in the spring of '96 when he died. They inspired all those books. And this is a biography about his life, about Scott Fischer's life. Scott Fischer was an unbelievable person. Maybe not completely, logically sound at all times. He just wanted to climb. You see his attitude towards climbing change as he gets older and has a family. It's great. I enjoyed it. Towards the end, the author here, this Robert Birkby, I guess he had climbed with Scott a few times. He had went on different adventures with him, different expeditions. But I'm pretty sure he wasn't there on the final one. But he writes the last chapter, if you will, of Scott's life, the actual expedition where he dies on Everest. And he writes it as if he is Scott, like that he knows that he was there, but it's stated that Scott was alone. And the whole book could have been written like that, and I didn't notice it, but I noticed it a lot in that last chapter, where he's like, well, Scott looked up towards the mountains and he couldn't breathe, but then he turned around and stared back over at the peak and just kept ascending. For some reason, it rubbed me the wrong way, and I felt like, you don't know this. You're taking a lot of liberties here. But it was still good. All in all, I'd probably give this book if it wasn't for the end, it'd be higher, probably a 7. 7 out of 10 on this. I can't wait to do a review on the book I'm reading now. I adore the book I'm reading right now. I'm not even going to tell you what it is, but I'm in love with it. I'm like 120 pages in, and it's phenomenal. Something I wanted to say at the beginning, actually, of this, but we're 8 minutes in, and I forgot I got too into the book, is big news. Don't need the hat. Got a haircut today. And as anybody who knows me knows that anytime I go out in public to do anything, something weird has to happen. So, my barber, hairstylist, if you will, she began to talk to me about her kids and them in school. And somehow, I don't know what I say. I don't know what I say to people. I don't know what I say to these people to want them to tell me about their conspiracy theories or about just bullshit. She proceeded to tell me that the schools are just making their kids dumber using Common Core math, and 2 + 2 is 5. I just wanted to go. She was so nice, but I was not interested, and I was uncomfortable as she was talking about making kids stupider. She referenced some movie with Morgan Freeman and Leonardo DiCaprio. She said it was Good Will Hunting. I don't think so. I don't remember Morgan Freeman in Good Will Hunting. Been a long time since I saw it, so maybe he is. Maybe I'm in the wrong here. But I know I wasn't in the wrong when I said, I didn't say my kids were stupid. I don't have kids. But she said her kids were dumb as dirt. The common sense has missed a few generations. And by saying that, she implied that she missed the common sense as well. She might not be lying about that. But I don't know what I say to these people to entice these things from them. I don't know why they tell me these things. I don't know why I'm put in these situations. I don't know why nobody else believes me when I say what happens to me. Because this is what happens. These weird things happen. But I'm excited about my haircut. I don't need to hide under the hat anymore. And thank you for watching. I It's in the works right now. It looks like I might get 2 more videos up this week. Still not back though, guys. Not back. Not back. Mountain Madness. 7 out of 10. I kind of want to climb a mountain. Bruce!